Hello, everybody. My name is Flynn. I'm very excited to be joined by Ramez Harikrishnasamy. How are you, Ramez?
I'm good. Good to see you again.
You too. You too. It's great to have you here. Great to see some familiar faces in chat. We've got Festus D is here. So great to see you, Johanna. Thanks for looking after us today, being our fantastic mod. But yeah, if you're watching this anywhere other than Behance, jump over to behance.net/live. You might be watching it on YouTube. Jump over there if you want to join our live chat. Say hello. Let us know where you're from. Ramez, you're in Malaysia. I'm here in Sydney. It's 9 o'clock here in Sydney. What time is it over where you are?
It's 7 a.m. here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
You are a legend. I love getting up early to do these live streams with us. And then you're off to work as well. Hardcore.
Yeah, I'm starting work at 10, but yeah, I'm always excited to go live with you because I feel sharing gained me so much of knowledge, and especially to all the audience who always ask me questions. I think it's the best place to do it.
Absolutely, and yeah, absolutely, and as you said, yeah, please do ask us questions. We're all here to learn from each other. Hey, how about I kick in some music? Let us know if you can hear that, guys. Hey, Avila, it's nice to see you. Yeah, so please do ask questions because we're all about learning from each other. And this session is well, it's a series. So we've done a couple of these before. A couple of these series where we want to have a very start point for something that we get asked a lot, like get a lot of questions around, how to use Photoshop, how to use lighting, how to use photo manipulation, stock photography, particularly at the moment where it's a lot harder to get out and about, take your own photos and everything like that. How can we piece things together and make it look either realistic or out of this world or surreal? And so we have one of the best in the business to teach us all about this from very scratch. So it's a very exciting series. And so if you're watching this on replay, this is where you can start. So we're going to start at the very basics of photo manipulation and kind of step through and increase in complexity, I think, and all that sort of stuff. And I'm really excited about this.
Awesome. I am too.
Okay, great. So how about we jump over to your desktop and we can get started? I know you have some slides prepared for us, some very beginner kind of
Yes,
tips
I
and
do.
somewhere to start. All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Sorry, just before we do have a Q&A break kind of in the middle. We'll keep that going for today. We'll put that at about halfway point, but feel free to ask questions as we're going. But Q&A is a great time to just take a couple of minutes to answer any of the questions that we might not get to as we're going through. So yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So first thing first, I think it would be good to know what is the right definition of photo manipulation. Because if you asked me back then when I got started, photo manipulation, I don't know that is the term. Because I remember cutting paste photos together and all that, not knowing that photo manipulation is the term. So photo manipulation is about transforming or altering a photograph using various methods and techniques to achieve desired results. So there are many different ways to put things together and alter, but Photoshop, obviously, because I've been using it for 19 years almost,
19
it's
years.
one of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, 19 years, it's crazy. So by using this app itself, I've done tons of manipulation photos, and I'm going to show you guys the samples. But before I show you the samples, and I would like to highlight few key features to make a very epic looking photo manipulation. Okay, so let me just switch to another slide. So these are the key elements to make a very like I say, epic, amazing photo manipulation. You need to first know what is that one thing that you want to make. Right? Most of the people that I've seen on the internet, the upcoming artists, they are very excited, which is a good thing. Just that when they put things together, automatically when we look at it, we should feel something like, oh my God, there's a story behind it. If it's just a beautiful images put together without any meaning, then it doesn't resonate so much to the audience. So I always feel if there's a story or concept behind it, it would be nice to actually do that, right? Start off with a concept. Second, make sure you use high resolution stock images. Reason is because if you don't use high resolution stock images, it's very hard when you distort some images, you get blurred out. So you don't want to have that. So, and also, of course, as we all know, when you blow up a certain image, you get pixelated and stuff. In order to reduce that, high resolution stock images is needed. And this is one of my important factor as well. A part of the concept is the light and shadow. So when you have the right lights and shadows, and then you make it more real. Even though it's surreal, fantasy, and stuff like that, when you look at it, you should question you back, like, is this real or not, right? So lights and shadow plays a very important role, and of course colors is also a very important thing, because it kind of tells a whole new story when you have all this concept and all these lights and shadows together. Detailing is also very important, especially when it comes to, like I said, lights and shadows, right? For example, if I'm standing right below the sun, where would the shadows be? Should it be dark on the bottom side of my face, right? Obviously, because that's where the sun is and all that. And of course, last but not least, final touches is also very important, so that you give some time. Once you're done with all the photo manipulation, I mean the piece of art that you've done, just stand back and focus on it and see if there's anything missing. Because final touches usually give that wow effect. Suddenly you find out that, oh, it would be nice to have the sun ray, or it would be nice to have all this depth of field, all these effects. So these are things that we will cover in this series. So I'm so excited to share that. And I would like to share with you also what are the things that I've done when it comes to photo manipulation. Let me show you some samples, right? So in here, you can see, like, these are the artworks that I've done for Adobe. For example, I would like to explain this one here on the left-hand side. This was me when I got invited to Adobe Max 2 years ago, where again, I never been to US before, right? And I got excited and I was like, oh, I'm going to US, but how do I portray that? Like I said, concept is very important, right? So how do I portray to people without people looking at the caption? They should understand. So I use Adobe logo as a bridge. As you can see, there's a KLCC, Kuala Lumpur Twin Towers over there. And you can see a Hollywood sign on the other hand side. So imagine A is actually a bridge. So you go up and get down to the other side, meaning Adobe helped me to reach that level. So that's the meaning behind that. And on the right hand side will be an image of me looking into like an app. Inside the app, there's so many moving things around it. So you are in control. For example, when you use Photoshop, you are the master, right? Even though this tool is powerful, you need to control it. So this is me trying to control what I have in mind and playing with the apps. So that's that.
I love that. I love that kind of. This comes back to the story, so solid, and like it's everything I see in all of your work. Always has that story, and it was the very first thing. I love that it's the very first thing that you mentioned. Is if you want to, if you want to get into it, like it's not just about piecing, sticky taping a bunch of things together. Like there is that story first, and I think I think that's like really powerful and a really strong message for people. There was a great question. Jamuna in chat is asking, do I need a tablet like a Wacom for photo manipulation?
You can. I think it depends on that photo manipulation that you're working on. For example, if it's very flowy, like you have a lot of freestyle involved, then I recommend you to get a tablet. And if it's basically just photos put together, then we can just use whatever tool that's there in Photoshop, like select subject, and then use the marquee tool and polygonal lasso to cut things out. But for example, let's say if I worked on a female character, let's say she is levitating on the sky or something, right? Then, there's a lot of like movement involved. For example, her dress will be flowy, where you can use the tablet and pen to move things, especially the hair, where it's a bit flowy. So it's nice to use the tablet to create all this fine little hair around to give that motion. So that, it depends on what you're working on. But for most of the time, I don't use it. But I do use it when it comes to, I can show you the samples where when I zoom in and I need to look for all the, again, I'm a very detailed person. I'll go in as deep as I can to adjust all the little shadows and everything. So that's when the tablet and the pen helps so much.
Oh, that's really great to hear. And I would sort of also qualify that you definitely don't need it to start. So don't feel like you have to buy that special equipment to get started. You can absolutely get started, and if it's something that you're into, something you really enjoy, something that you find benefit in or helps your portfolio, or just something you really enjoy, and then that's when you might want to start investing more into it, because you don't want to invest in all the technology and then you're like, I don't really like this, or I'm not into it, or start doing something else. So
or always walk into the store and try out yourself. If you don't feel it, then probably it's not your thing. So
great, excellent. All right,
cool. Let's move on to the second sample. Also, part of my work is that it involves a lot of like mythological types of art as well. And again, there's a lot of story behind it. For example, on the left hand side, you can see an image of an elephant, and there's a small little boy over here. He represents a goddesses, where his vehicle, again, we always have this vehicle comes together with a god. That is the vehicle. The thing is, it got into accident and couldn't move, and this elephant is helping them out, get out from the forest.
Right.
So in this story is that you should help anybody who's in danger. Doesn't matter what their color is, what their size is, and everything. So that is the story behind that one. And also on the right hand side will be the is Lord Krishna, we call him, and he's known to steal a lot of like how do I say, like a food, right? The type of food, milky
Right.
yogurts, and on this particular day, it happens. I think it's next month is where his birth is. Like there's a celebration. Usually, what he does is he likes to steal a lot of stuff. And I was just imagining, what if a lot of people give him food, and this is what happened at the end. He just like collapsed because he ate so much of food. And if you zoom in, if I zoom in quickly, you get to see he's actually having a pacifier in his mouth because he's still a
Right.
baby. So I think it would be nice to focus on that. So that's the story behind that one. And yeah, this one. On the left hand side is story about this girl. Again, she want to ride this horse. The thing is, parents say you are not ready yet because, as you can see, she's very small, right? But she has this dream. We all should have that dream as well. Doesn't matter, will it take a long time to do? But it's always good to have that dream so that it drives your hope every single day. And if you follow me on my Instagram, this is actually there's a free tutorial how to create this photo manipulation. I split it out in a few different videos so you guys can create yourself. And on the right hand side is goddesses. Again, her vehicle is the lion. So they are just playing, right? I think childhood is all about that. The reason why I did this manipulation is because she's always portrayed as what do you call?
Oh, your camera's going a bit crazy.
Yeah, I wonder why. Hold
Look
on.
at that.
Whoa. Okay, something happened. Oh. Okay, let me see if I can fix that.
Okay, cool. No worries. Yeah, let us know, chat, if you do have questions as we're going, as we're kind of fixing this up.
Yep.
That's a new one. I haven't seen a camera do that before.
Exactly, it's like an effect.
Yeah, it's a really cool effect. We can teach you how to do this.
Oh boy. Okay. Wonder what happened. 1 second.
This is a good time for me while Remus is sorting that out. Just to mention our Discord as well. So we have a Discord that Johanna will share in chat if you want to connect with us like around the live streams that we're spending a lot of time in, and we're also learning from each other and a little bit of feedback and things like that. So you can jump on there. It's like an Asia Pacific specific channel. So yeah, we usually jump in there after the streams, hang out, share work. Johanna's also been doing some challenges in there. So yeah, you guys can jump in, join us, hang out with us around the live streams.
Yep. I can't seem to. That's weird. Okay, let me see if I can fix it. I've restarted it. Still look the same. It looks okay before this. I didn't even touch anything. Okay.
So you might need to rejoin.
Yeah, I might to rejoin. Will you still be there, right?
I'll still be here. I might just put something up over, guys. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes while we sort this out.
Yeah. Okay. I think it worked.
Okay.
Yay.
Look at that.
Yay, I'm back.
Brilliant. Frack, that was quick.
Perfect. Okay,
Oh, that was crazy.
cool.
Crazy effect. All right, back
Yeah.
in. There we go. Yeah,
Yay.
looks like we're back, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for waiting for us.
Sorry for that guy. I'm not sure what. Okay, so like I was saying, this goddess is always portrayed as a fierce person where she kills demons and stuff. And I think some people tend to forget that she also could have a childhood where she's always like a fun person, like running around like anybody else. And it also gives that. So once I did this, I remember I have so many comments saying that, oh my god, I didn't even know that we can, like, she has another life when she's small, like she's always portrayed in this adult form and stuff like that. So there's a nice thing there. And next would be this, like for example, you can see again, this is Lord Krishna. He loved animals, and there's also a term that he liked to use, universe is our playground. And I always believe that, like, never believe like the earth is something that's within us, right? We don't stuck within this. There's a big universe out there. Again, don't feel small, in your community. You are the reason the way you are. Like, there's a lot of things that you can do. Like, don't let anybody else stop you. So that's the reason behind that. And the lady behind, on the right hand side, will be a person who into only truth. For example, what happened is that this is a long story short. Her husband was accused for stealing a bangle, like a very important bangle in India. This is I don't know if it's a myth, but a lot of people in Madurai, Tamil Nadu, like in the state in India, say that this is a true story where she cursed the whole city to burn down because you do not believe my husband is like an innocent.
Right.
So and she looked up and she said, if it's true, my husband is innocent, because again, I hate this whole state because they lied and everything, and straight away something came up from the top and burned down the whole city.
Wow.
So it's crazy. So it shows that husband is innocent. So yeah, that's that. And this series, it will be a series of all the manipulation that I've done on Behance. Like I've been doing live stream for 9 times already. So these are the few things that I've done. For example, I like teaching people how to create, like I said, right, storytelling. Like in this story is that this astronaut is waiting to be rescued by that ship because he's coming from another pod. So imagine there's another pod at the back where he got burned down because of a technical issues. He's still alive. He managed to contact a rescue team. And imagine it's landing over the but this is actually a desert in Utah, I think. So I transform it to like a Mars, and I create all the smokes and everything so that it gives that realistic look. And also, if you look at all the final touches like flash and everything, it gives that wow effect, like how you watch Star Wars and everything, right? Star Trek and stuff. So that's that. And also, I created this. So imagine if you're traveling and then all of a sudden you're lost, but then you get to see all these big statues. You can see how I did the stairs there. So in this story, it's about the archaeologists. They found a brand new place where they discover a statue of a very ancient time, like a Hindu's village or something. And then you can see how the helicopters are added to give that realistic look, like how you watch Jurassic Park and stuff like that, where they try to take all these items, go back to the lab to do research. So that's the story behind it. You can see how there's like a waterfall at the back, birds flying on the right hand side. So these are like touches that I like to create, right? Because it creates all the important elements of photo manipulation. Again, storytelling, right? And it's right after sunset. You can see how you on back all the lights and stuff. And these guys are enjoying the scene, but of course they can't enter because underneath here you can see all the different, like there's a barrier. So that's the amount of detail I like to put on my artwork, right? They are not allowed to cross this. So that's that. And this is also one of my favorite. This is also one of the live streams that I've done. It's about this girl who likes to sneak out at night to feed these animals, right? And guess what? These are fishes, but these fishes are very, very special fishes where they can live on the land. So imagine that, right? Like I said, photo manipulation, storytelling, and stuff like that. You are not in control. Like for example, there's no thinking inside the box or outside the box. I always believe there's no box at all. So that you're not restricted, like, oh, I can only go beyond this, and if I go beyond that, people might not understand. No, wrong. You are the master. Create the story, I'm sure people will get it. Like for
Yeah.
example, in this story as well, you can see how I use apples. The unique thing here is that these animals can only will only eat whatever that's red. So this is storytelling that I always do while I'm doing live streams. So the next day she came back with strawberries. So it's always a different thing. And if you look at all the detailed stuff, right? For example, if I zoom in, you get to see wild mushrooms. Again, the reason why I put it there is because you need to, again, you have to be realistic at times. This is a small kid, right? She needs to get up to that big mushroom. Obviously, she needs some sort of like a stool or stairs. But in this case, I'm using mushroom where she step on it and then she climb up. It's so that how much I love telling stories, because I also want it to be realistic. And you can see slowly the fishes coming closer. And also, another thing I like about streaming is because when you have a lot of audience, I do ask their opinion, right? Again, the way I think is different than them, right? And they say, oh, this is at night. It would be nice to have some little bugs all over the light. And these are the touches that I've done based on what they think that might work. So I always like all this collaboration. So that's awesome. And then next would be this, right? I also did this live stream where this scuba diver, he's supposed to have another partner who joined him, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. So he was like, okay, you know what? Let me just go myself. So when he dived in, he actually saw this treasure. You can see the detail, right? Like for example, there's also a pattern here. So this octopus part of it, it has a gold, like a placement on near the mouth. So he was thinking, maybe I could scratch some of the gold and then keep it or something because it's slipping, as you can see, stuff like that. And you can see how I blow up all these jellyfish. These are very small size, but in manipulation, like I said, right, you are the master. You can transform anything to anything that you want. I blow up all these jellyfish so that it looks like a gigantic underwater scene. And as you can see, all the octopus, the tentacles here, left and right, I blur it out so that it gives this depth of field. So those are things that we will learn throughout the series, how to create this, right? For example, there's a focus. If I make all this image like the same depth, then you won't feel it. And you have to understand this is underwater. Underwater always have this like blurry effects and all that. So yeah, that's that. And last but not least, I have two more where this like a very comic, like a kid-looking art. So you can see I'm using like the owl and everything. This is also a very like an interesting story where this boy over here, what he's doing is like he's looking at the owl. The owl is trying to catch the fish, but the bear didn't know. The bear is busy talking to the tiger. So there's a link between all this. Right. So yeah, so that's that. And these are the and this one is something that we're going to learn how to create today. So it's about this peacock who flew from India to Japan, and then it's not lost. It's just that he had a fight with his master, and then he came and you know how Buddhism is always about you have to be calm and all that. So this monk is telling this peacock, you have to be calm, don't get upset and run away, always face the problem and find out what is the best way to solve it. Yes. So that's my samples.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, it's so cool. So we're going to be focusing on the second one, on that last one that you showed us.
Yes, correct. Today we'll be learning how to create this. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I absolutely love the story and the backstory that you have in your head. So even if the audience, if it's not super clear, there's still that whole story behind it. That it has like a solid foundation, which is really cool. I absolutely love that. Yeah, fantastic.
Cool. So, again, when I usually start photo manipulation, there are a few things that I like to ask myself. For example, I have one sample here. Here, when you look at this small little boy who's sitting just like that, if I were to give this photo to any other photo manipulator, they will come up with a many different results. Similarly, when I look at photo, it tells me 1,000 stories. And guess what? It takes some time for me to pick which one that might resonate with people more, and it will give a wow effect. For example, this boy over here, if I quickly take a pen tool here, right? So it can be actually sitting in a car, right? At the back seat. So again, I'm just drawing these small little sketches. Again, the reason why I'm doing these sketches is because this is actually a visual that's appearing in the back of my head. For example, he's sitting and then there's a seat belt. Again, imagine that, right? So he has a seat belt tied to him like this. And then again, it's up to you when you want to tell a story, right? And imagine this is a car, so there's like a back chill, and then you have like a tree at the back because the car is moving. What could this boy looking at? For example, what I feel is that it probably looking at a food, like chocolate box, that the parents who's driving at the in front saying that you cannot touch this food until you reach home because you're gonna mess up the car. So that's one story, right? So again, I want to hide that. Next, it can also be where he's sitting at the lake, right? Like this. And there's a lot of fish here. Like imagine there's a water. And then he's looking at a bucket full of fish. And guess what? The father is over here catching a fish. So he's looking at this scene. So it can also be that. So imagine one photo can create so much of stories. So many different stories. So similarly, when it comes to storytelling, it's up to you what you think that might work with your audience. So yeah, I just want to highlight that before I start. So, yeah.
And will you often start with an image like, you know, like this, or you know, will you like have pen and paper, or do you have ideas, you know, in your dreams or in the shower, and then you think, oh, I really want to do this, or you know, where did the initial ideas kind of come from? Got it.
Okay, so I know like today, let's say today I feel like working on something, right? I will look through photos like stock images. Again, I know I need a character. When I look at photos and I found one, somehow the position or the character looks okay, I keep focusing on it and I try to imagine what are other elements might work with this photo, and everything will just come into the place. So similarly, for the next manipulation that we're going to work on, there are times where I couldn't find the right stock image. Like for example, in this, I have to say, like for example, this monk over here, right? What I have in the back of my head is that I want to see a monk where he's looking up, where I can then use like an alignment. He's looking at this, and then maybe there will be another story. Unfortunately, like I said, sometimes you don't get the photos that you want. But it's okay, you work around it. So there are people who try to do this and they message me, they go like, I don't, you know, I want to create this, but it didn't happen. And I'm like, okay, you have already like 10 photos. Why don't you find that one photo that might work around it rather than just stop doing it, right? Sometimes people get demotivated because of this, and I'll say, no, wrong. You have to, I guess you get, like for example, if you're stuck in the jungle, you only have this much of item, right? You have to do something, right? You don't just give up. Similarly like that. So what I did was I put the monk here and I was thinking he's looking down. At first, the peacock, what I have in mind was it's a dog, like a puppy. Again, right. it was lost or something, right? And again, I couldn't find the right stock photo. I replaced it with this and I tied with Hindu mythology. So that's how you create stories. So always, if you're stuck, think again, what are things that can work with the current photos that you have? I'm sure something epic will come out from this.
Great.
Cool. Now we're gonna get started. I'll just close this. I'll open up new canvas. Cool. I'm gonna start dragging in all the images, and we can get started. Here's a tip, right? Whenever let's say you have all these different images that you have, I want you guys to always start with the background first and then foreground. It's very important. And always start off with composition. Like for example, here I'm trying to drag and drop this image. This is actually a beautiful place in Kyoto. It's called Arashiyama. And I was so lucky enough to be here 3 or 4 years ago with a bunch of my friends. Again, I have zero knowledge when it comes to Japan. Like I don't know what's there and all that. And I'm not a city person. I always enjoy all this like a rural part of the areas. Like for example, I like green more than futuristic stuff.
Right.
But of course, it's always nice to have all the different types of manipulation because again, we have a different types of audience. So that's that. And I also have again one of the main statue that I was talking about. This is again in China. You can see how I take all different items all around the world, but I put it together. Again, nobody might not know. They might not know if this is from Japan or China, right? So what I do during my live stream is that I like to tell story where I get all these images and all that, so that they get the idea. So I'm trying to place the image over here. As you can see, I'm not doing anything to the background. I'm just leaving it as the way it is, and I'm placing the statue over here. So I'm gonna just place it down like this. again, first thing first, always just create the composition of image first before you go in and edit. Okay, that's that. And if you're just like wondering whether or not this composition works, always lower down the opacity so that you know, okay, that's where the lines that you're going to be, and I can see a bit of background. Okay, perfect, this is what I want. Cool.
Great.
So let me increase back the opacity, and of course we get in the monk, and these monks, I taken them from Thailand. There's a beautiful temple in Thailand. It's always white. It's like in white in color. Yeah. And as you can see, before I show you Flynn, I'm sure you don't even know like how was the photo was like. This is the boy, right? And he's just standing here. Nobody knows this is the image. Somebody might have think he was probably standing on the street or he want to buy some stuff, but he's just standing there, and this capture my attention. I'm like, I can use something. I can use him for something. So this is the reason why I choose this photo. And for composition, again, I'll just reduce the opacity, and you can see the silhouette of him. I'll just resize, and you can see I'll try to position him down here. Again, if you notice, his feet is kind of like blocked by the temple that he's stepping on. But you don't have to worry, because again, we're going to learn how to create like a perspective and stuff like that. So for now, I'm going to just place him just like this. I think I can enlarge a bit more.
Cool. And okay. Jamuna was asking, what are the dimensions of your canvas?
Oh, okay. See, first you need to know what will happen to this artwork when you're done. The reason why I'm working on a square format right now is because, again, I like to use it to post it on my social media like Instagram and Twitter and all that. So that's the reason why I'm using this. And if you're wondering what is this, this is actually a canvas. It's just 2000 times 2000 pixels, and I'm using 72 dpi. I don't need it to be so high res because, again, I'm not blowing it up to make a billboard. So
you're not printing it or anything like that.
Yeah, so I'm not printing it or something. And it's RGB. Again, you have all the freedom to work on the colors. You don't have to worry CMYK. You know, sometimes people have problems with create something and then when they print, the color just run away. So all that. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Again, and it's also 72 dpi is just perfect and still super clear. All my Instagram images were created using this canvas, 2000 times 2000. And then usually I shrink it as well, 2002, because there are times where people will misuse my images, and I don't want that because they can always write. Again, there are so many different ways. Then you want to stop that by doing this, just scale it down. But I do keep all these high-res images. If sometimes I do print and keep it in my book. Yeah, I have a personalized book where I print stuff.
So you save like a high res version, but then you publish like a slightly lower res version.
Lower res, yes.
Right.
And it's still sharp because the recommended size for Instagram is 1080.
Right.
Times 1080. So I'm using 1002, which is also perfect because, again, I want my images to still be clear and sharp. Yeah. So again, here we are putting another character. Oops. We'll just resize that. Again, I'm lower down the opacity. I'm gonna just, again, another problem that a lot of people have is that how do you know what is the size like? For example, there's a monk here. You know there's a huge statue, and there's a peacock. Of course, all these images was taken from different part of the world, but how do you know if this is the right size for peacock if he was to stand in front of a person? Well, for this, what you do is you Google peacock with a person. Like maybe somebody is feeding the peacock, so that then you can know what is the right size.
So you can get it. You can get an idea of scale by Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah, because I'm sure you can get a peacock with a person right on the internet. You can just look for reference, and then you use that to work on your manipulation. Like, for example, if I were to take a kid and a small kid with a father in the two different photos, that's what I do. Usually I scale down and I see what is the right size to make sure that the kid, that it doesn't look so small even though it's a toddler, and the father still look in a decent size. Okay. Cool. And then I can just resize. And eye contact is very important. If you look at this, his eyes is looking down. Usually what I do is I'll create a new canvas. new layer, and I use like tools like lines to see like this, for example,
Right.
right? So that's the eyesight. So you need to make sure that when he looked there, the peacock is just here, which is perfect. And then you hide that thing. So all these guidelines you can create yourself. Cool. Now that I've placed it over here, I also have another stock image which I will add later on. So for now, I'm gonna just hide all the images, and I'm gonna start off with the first one. So first thing first, we need to cut the lion. In order to do that, back then, of course, it's very difficult because you can use all the different pen tool and lasso and everything. But now, because of the AI and stuff that's in Photoshop, you can do it in a very simple way. Just press on W for quick selection and select subject. Most of the time, you will get the right selection, so you don't have to worry. So here, you can see most of the line got selected. Maybe here what happened is that the color is too close or something, that it didn't get selected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to L. This is also one of my favorite tools. It's called Polygonal Lasso. So I am going to just deselect like this temple. So I'm going to just go in here. Okay, I don't need this part of the temple.
Are you holding anything down while you're making this selection?
No, I'm not. No. So first, either you press Shift or Alternate. Shift is a lasso plus, meaning you want to select the area. If you don't want any selection, you want to remove the selection, you just press Alternate, and you can see small little arrow will appear. Like I don't know if you can see on the live stream. There's actually like a negative at the side, so that shows that you're actually trying to remove this other selection. Okay, cool. Now that I've removed that, let me just check. Okay, so this part is not selected, so I'm going to press on Shift. You can see my lasso will be transformed into plus. That's that.
And I should mention as well, because I know we've got some new people that have joined us since we started. If you are watching over on YouTube and you want to jump in and ask questions or say hello, we're over at behance.net/live. That's the chat we're using today.
Awesome. So now that I've selected the whole area, I'll just need to press masking. Boom. So now you see it, like, right? It's gone. And if you're wondering how the image going to look like, this is how the image looks like before this, and now you just mask it out. And very, very important to know the source of light. Again, I think I'm lucky when it comes to like images. All my images most of the time help me in terms of light. How do you find source of light? Back then when I was teaching in all design colleges, I always get this question: how do you know where is the light is? Like for example, you can see here, right? So you're safe at the background. Background is very subtle. You don't see any source of light because, again, it can be from any different direction. It's not so harsh. But if you look at the lion statue, you know it's coming from the left-hand side. And if you look at my stock images, like the monk and the peacock, let me just increase the opacity of the monk. You can see he's in a dark mode. Like for example, there's a lot of like shadows on him, which is perfect. If you look at this image here, because he's against the light, so he's supposed to look dark. Even if it's not, there's always a way to adjust it, which I'm going to teach you guys in a bit. Cool. Next, I would like to remove the background for this person. So I'll just press on W again, quick selection, select subject, and then let's see what happened. Boom, he got selected there, and I'll just press on masking. Okay, there you go. He's stand over there. Also, perspective, very important. Now that this angle is like taken from the bottom part, right? It's not like the eyesight view, like the straight view. You know the leg doesn't make sense. It has to be hidden because from this view, right? And all that is a manual fix where you just press on L, again a polygonal lasso. We're gonna just hide his leg just like this. And I'm gonna press on B brush to remove it. right? So that makes more sense. Next, we're going to bring in the peacock. Okay, let's do a quick selection. Press on W, select subject. Okay, let's zoom in. Okay, there are some parts not selected. Let's do a manual fix. I'm going to press on Shift. You can see my lasso has a small little plus sign, which means I'm trying to select this area over here, the peak. Okay, and also I'm going to select this part of the hair. I don't know what you call this, a part of the peacock, but yeah, it's very smooth, this area. That's why it's always never gets selected. And I'm going to press on Shift again to select this part of the leg very quickly. Okay, done. And I'm going to just mask it. Okay,
awesome.
Cool.
Do you ever do pardon the peacock pun, but do you ever do any feathering?
No, I haven't do any feathering yet. Like for example, there are times where you get this. Do you see this line here? There's always a problem when you're done selecting something, and you'll be thinking, oh gosh, now I have to remove, take some time to change to another brush and remove this thing. But guess what? There's a way to fix this. Like for example, if you go back to the monk, click on the black area here on the black box, and I want you to press W again. Go to select and mask. There are two ways to do this. I'm going to teach you the first one first. Can you see the shift edge? I want you to reduce the shift edge. See, look at the line. Look at the edges of this monk. It will disappear. It's gone. Right?
So this is the outlining. This is the outlining of the monk that you're talking about?
Correct. Yes, I'm talking about the monk. For example, let me do that one more time. You can see there's like a white line here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select and mask. Press on select and mask. You can see shift and edge. I want you to reduce the amount of shift and edge. Shift edge meaning it will reduce the amount of the radius of this selection. Okay, that's one way. There's also another way. I want you to go up here. It's called filter, other, and look for minimum. When you do that, you will have this, like a radius, right? Just choose maybe 2. Click on OK. It's boom, it's gone, right? But for now, I think I'm good enough to use the shift and edge. So I'm going to remove it this way. Okay, I'm fine with that one. Just click OK, and you're done. Okay, so here we have a problem. The peacock's tail is not so long, and I need to fix that. First, I need to fix the leg, right? Because it's beyond where it's supposed to be. So let's go to the peacock. Press on L. Let's remove the leg first. Okay, B, and then we remove that. And then this part over here, we can also remove it. Again, I'm doing like a manual fixing. And then again, if you notice, it's just chopped off over there. We need to do a bit of clone stamping. To do that, just create a new layer on top. Let's call it tail. And then press on S, which is clone stamping. And you need to look for a source. If you press on, here is this the icon over here, is toolbar selected. Press on alternate to look for the source, which will be here. And very, very important, not many people know, is that some people thought you can only do clone stamping within the image. It's wrong. You can always create more different layers and still have your source underneath by checking the current and below. So it's very, very important. So what it means is that you want the current one to get the source out of the below item.
Right.
So when you do that, then you can still touch up the tail just like this. Now I'm done, right? And of course, there's a bit of adjustment you need to do, but you can always adjust it using your mouse and everything. Okay, so now that I have that, I need to first mask it up first. Let's press on masking, press on B, and let's just erase that. So you have fixed the tail already.
Nice.
Cool, and I'm gonna just mask this area here. Cool. Okay, so he's looking at this particular peacock. That's perfect. Like I said, right, it's always nice to have a lot of different elements in your photo manipulation, but as long as it makes sense. Like for example, you're looking at this view right here. when I was doing this live stream, I was just thinking it would be nice to add more element, maybe like a bird or something. There are times where it didn't work out, but it's okay, right? And I thought it would be nice to actually have some sort of like a depth of field and colors. As you can
Just
see, this is
just
also
before we do, we're actually at Q&A,
yeah,
so I think we might just ask a couple of
awesome,
questions.
perfect.
So yeah, this is amazing. It's amazing how quickly you can bring in. I mean, you've brought in four completely different images, like all into one, which is amazing. How quickly you can kind of jump into that. I just want to do a couple of questions because I know we're going to be short of time today. I can feel it. But there was a couple of questions. We'll see if we can get them done. Johanna was
Sure.
asking, when did you incorporate kids into your work? Have they always been an inspiration to you?
Kids. I think I have to talk about it because I have a small little kid at home. I have my own daughter. Her name is Leah. I think that's the reason why I've been doing a lot of like baby related stuff. I think it's always good to uh, tell to the whole world that this is how things started. Like when you're small, you need to let the kids know like you can dream to be whatever you want. I think, and we never ever tell them that you cannot be this or cannot be that, right? I'm a person who always respect everybody's decision in terms of like whatever they want to be, and I have to say thank you to my parents as well. Again, growing up in a typical Indian family, they always want you to become either doctor or lawyer, and I thank
Right.
my family because I did ask their permission, saying that hey, listen, I want to become a designer. Again, all that didn't happen when they're small, so I don't want the same mistake to happen again in my family. So I'm telling my baby to be whatever you want, and you can see all these babies that's being portrayed in my manipulation. They're always like outside, they're always traveling,
Mm.
and you can see they're always like talking to birds and everything. Because again, I don't want to, and also they're all in different colors. Because in Hindu mythology, we believe that everybody is important. That's the reason why there's a dark scene, and skin discrimination shouldn't happen. So those
Mm.
are things that I always tell my baby, and the reason why I'm portraying in my manipulation.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. As a father of a small child, I totally agree. Yeah, there's no photo manipulations that you've done where they're sitting at a desk bored, is there? Um, so another question: do you have any go-to mythologies or references that you generally use? There's a lot of Hindu mythology and lore in there. Are there any others, or do you? Yeah.
Um, there are times where I do pick from the Hindu mythology that's already there,
Hmm.
but I recreate it in a different way. Again, if you look it up, the same image on the internet, they always have the same composition for some reason, and
Right.
I always believe that, like I said, right, we there's no box at all. So I think I'm freely can portray it in a different composition, and people welcome that. People
Mm.
actually message me saying that, oh my god, I think all these images stuck in my head. Like they keep thinking this is how it's supposed to be.
Right.
So when you help them visualize in a different way, they're like, "Oh, yeah, that can happen too. Why
Mm.
didn't I thought of that?" So that's good because you allowing people to think beyond their comfort zone as well, right? Like this is, I don't like to do that in for myself. So when I do that to my artwork, people get it. People like, "Oh, that means I can do it too." So
Mm.
they kind of like get the idea out of my artwork, which is good, right? That's what I want. And there are stories that I create myself, and if you look at Hindu mythology, they always have story behind it.
Mm.
I think probably that's the reason why I like to infuse stories in my artwork. See whether the myth is a true story or not. Let's not see that. Let's see what do you get out of it. Is there a lesson? Like for example,
Mm.
you always treat people the same, help each other, and if a person is in danger, don't see them. Again, like I said before, like their sizes or color, don't see that. These are things that I like to infuse, like a story, because at the end of the day, again, we all not gonna live. This is the truth. We're not gonna live in this world forever. Let's create all these positive vibes through an artwork or
Mm.
whichever things that you're working on, like a music or something. You want to convey positive messages because the world is already in a huge, a lot of problems. Everybody has
Yeah.
problems, issues. Let's move that aside and just use positivity towards our artwork and music and everything. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the positive vibes in your work and everything you talk about. So yeah, maybe the last question, then we'll jump back in. Do you? This is from R&B in RGB in chat. Do you always try to modernize mythology to get it closer to youth and other cultures?
Yes. I do have a lot of books that I bought, right? For example, when I travel, I like to buy, again, I'm a very visual person. If I see a book that has only text, I'll close it, I put it back onto the rack, and I'll start looking for a visual book. So when I go through books, when I go to bookstore, when I open up all these books, right, what I see is that you can see like a very different styles of artwork being created by all the different artists, Indian artists from back then, like 1885 or something. And the tools that they use are always like traditional, like oil painting, acrylic and stuff like that. See, right now we are in a modern world. We all use Photoshop, and it would be nice to use Photoshop to recreate that artwork in a different dimension. Because back then they are restricted within that is the only medium they can use. Now that we have this, we can use this again. There's no wrong. So I recreated using the current technology, and people love it. And if you just look up on the internet, a lot of people recreate my artwork in a different form. So it makes me so happy. So meaning I am doing the right thing, I feel, and I got a lot of positive messages also saying that keep doing this, don't stop. It makes my day and all that. So yeah, when I do this, all the youngsters love it. Even the elders one who's looking at it, because they're so used to seeing all the painting. When they look at this, they go like, because they look real, right? Photo manipulation, I'm using a real images. So back then it's a painting. Now they're like, I think this is how God looks like back then. So they give me that kind of vibe. So yeah, I'm happy to hear that, and I'll keep doing it as long as I can.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, thanks for the questions, guys, and thank you for answering the questions. But yeah, how about we'll jump back in?
Sure.
And guys, don't feel like that means that you can't ask questions. You absolutely can. So if you do have any questions as we're going along, we're here for about another half an hour is what we have left in terms of time. So feel free to throw questions in, and we'll just answer them if we can.
Perfect. Next, we're going to look at this. For example, you can see on the left-hand side, it's pretty empty, right? Hold on. Okay, yeah, pretty empty. And then I thought I want to add some few birds flying like a pigeons trying to, how the statue is pretty old. And if you travel, you get to see all these big statues. Usually you have these pigeons hanging on them, like just like a place to rest or something. So I thought of that. And I was thinking, because I love colors so much, and I Googled this up, and I found a stock image, a very high stock image on Adobe Stock. And I found this. This is an autumn leaf. I think it would be nice to have this as a frame of this manipulation so that it adds the colors to it. For example, if I just reduce the opacity, you can see how it's going to look like even before I cut it up, right? So imagine placing it over there, and we can also have few more like a different plants at the bottom. But for now, I'm going to just place it there like this. And I'm going to just resize it a bit more, and we're going to remove the background very quickly. Let's look for, press on W, press on select subject. Let's see if the leaves got selected. Of course, it's very, very tough to do this because they are very fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enlarge my toolbar here, the cursor, the selection tool, and trying to select manually the flowers. So I'm going to just select them like this, and a bit more over here. This is also in Japan. I think that's the Fuji mountain, if I'm not mistaken. It's that, and I'm going to select a bit more over here. It's perfect. A bit more, and a bit over here. Let me see. Perfect, and just press on selection. Okay, so when you get that, of course, there'll be a problem because they're too refined like areas. Like for example, the blue sky, you don't have to worry. Select on select and mask, because Photoshop understands that you are trying to remove the blue area. And if you click on the second tool over here, you can enlarge the cursor and just brush at the edge. And you can see all the blue background will now vanish. because this is the calculation that Adobe Sensei is doing, if I'm not mistaken. So it knows that you're trying to remove the blue background. So it will help you to understand that. And this is what happened. You just need to remove all the blue marks. Perfect. And you can see how the color adds to the picture. Like, for example, it gives the dramatic look and all that. Again, like I always said, photo manipulation, it's not only sticking all the photos together, but to make sure that whether or not you can achieve like a realistic look until people question it, whether or not this is a real image. I have a couple of images that I've done earlier in my days where people actually thought, can they visit these places? There's actually a big like a waterfall, and there's like a temple underneath. They're like, which part of India is this? I didn't even know, and all that. So I was like touched, and I was like, no, guys, look at the caption. This is actually a photo manipulation. But thank you for saying that. So yeah, meaning
That's a good compliment.
writing,
you did a good job.
Yeah, yeah, in terms of lightings and shadows and everything. So click on OK, and then you get that, right? For example, so look at this, right? You see this, and then what I like to say in my photo, like my live streams and manipulation, is that I like to create this depth of field. I know everything in this photo is in the same depth, right? And now imagine trying to convert this to a smart object very quickly. And I want you to just go to filter, blur, look for Gaussian blur, and see that, right? And reduce the amount of filter, and you create this depth of field. As if like, wow, you're so focused on the lion and the tiger and everything, but still yet you get to see this beautiful image of a tree right in front of it. So it gives that wow effect better. And also have more plants, which I will add very soon. I'm going to leave that there. And there's a few ways to alter the colors. You can manually fix things, but usually it's one of my favorite things is to use color lookup. You can use it way before you start, after you do all this composition, or you wait until the end. In this case, I can also start using it now itself, because after this, we're just going to do color fixing, and we're going to add more of the, fill up this area. We're going to have more plants. So for this, just go down here and look for color lookup here. So when you look for color lookup, you get this pop-up, and this here, you have like a tons of color selections. It's similar to your Instagram filters that you use. For example, just look closely, you get to see how the color is more rich now, before and after, right? Again, I'm not doing any manual fixing to each of these images. It gives that overall feel to it. The colors are very intense and all that. Also, if you want to change the mood and everything, there's also different types of, like, for example, like this looks like an old postcard, like maybe in China or something. So right, it gives that effect.
You showed this. You showed this last time that you were on this color lookup, and you kind of blew our minds a little bit. So yeah, it's just such an incredible and powerful feature that, as I was saying, I didn't even know you could do it in this way. I didn't know that you could have this effect. It's super cool.
Yeah. So imagine trying to fix this manually. Imagine you need to now adjust the lion to have this yellow tint. You have to go back to the ball to change the yellow tint again. Again, it will take so much of time. Now that you have all these different features, utilize it. It saves so much of time, right? You just need to do a bit of lighting and shadow fixing. For example, there's also fall colors. So you can see the colors a bit washed out. Yeah. So in this, again, I don't know what's the right color lookup yet, but let's just see. There's also tension green. You can see it's a bit greenish. And there's also teal and orange contrast. This is super contrast. There's also soft warming look. It gives this pastel look, right? There's also moonlight, late sunset, and all that. For this, I think it would be nice to have that fall colors. You can see how the colors like pops up more, right? I'm gonna just leave it like that. We can always do the manual adjustment later. And now, if you remember when I start, you need to know where the sun is. For example, in here, I'm going to just draw the sun. It's always good to do this. If you are not sure, while working on like a tons of stock images, you might not know, oh my God, I'm lost, where's the sun is? You can always do like this and then draw the sun. I have a lot of artists do that. Okay, it's like a reminder, right? Just put it up there. It's no harm to your photo manipulation. Just make sure that you hide it when you export it. So now the sun is there. it's time to work on shadows. For example,
So
you
just
just
before we
one
move on
statue.
to that, Remez, just had a quick question. So
Awesome.
I missed this one before. Anthony asked a great question. Do you do any preliminary sketches before beginning your manipulations in Photoshop?
I do. I do the sketches most of the time in my head. I
Yep.
save time.
Right.
Like I don't really sketch stuff. For example, like I said, I'm a very visual person. I know when I look at a photo, I'll get a different visuals in my head itself. Rather than sit there and draw. Of course, I need to do it at the starting of this stream because again, I want you guys to see what I'm thinking. Like in terms of that boy, if you remember, he's sitting on a car and all that, and then it can also be sitting on the park. All these different visuals always appear in my head, and I'll remember which visual I should stick with. And then I'll open up Adobe Stock and then look for the images that resonate with my idea. So
Right.
yeah, I do sketches, but then most of the time in my free time, but usually it's not for photo manipulation. It's just for like hobby, but I
Right.
don't do it for photo manipulation.
Right. Okay, cool. Great. Thank you.
Cool, no worries. Thank you for asking that question. Okay, let's work on shadows. So I'm creating a new layer and I think the time is just perfect. I don't have to worry, like I'm on time. Okay, I just quickly press on alternate. The reason why I'm doing that, here's a shortcut. Many people wondering, how can I quickly mask, make a masking. For example, if you create a new layer on top, you want to mask at the item at the bottom, just press on alternate, you get the small little box, right, pointing down. So press on that, and you know whatever you're going to work on here in this layer is within that element of that subject. For example, the statue. So now here, because the sun can be too harsh, so I'm trying to create this shadow. Again, there are many different ways to create it. For now, I'm going to press on D. When you press on D, if you look at my color palette over here, even though the color here is orange and white, if you want to quickly switch it to black and white, just press on D, right? Then you will get that. And then now with the gradient, I will just apply it just like this. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That's the shadow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, there are many ways to adjust this. Now that you drop the shadow, you'll be like, oh my God, it's just too harsh. How do I modify this? Many different ways. When you press on Control T, just resize this, and you can see how the shadow, press on Control T and press on Shift so that you still have the same ratio of the shadow, and you can move things around. You can see how the shadow now is under your control. So I place it there. And if you want to have more harsh shadows like beneath the mouth and everything, well, you can add. We can always use the same shadow layer. Press on B again, choose a soft brush, and make sure your flow is not so much. So what is flow is that it's the intensity of the brush, right? Like how intense do you want the brush to be? Opacity is the transparency of a brush. So usually my flow, I put it half or 26, which is just perfect. If you zoom in here, if you want to make the mouth darker, you can, like this. I'm just doing a manual fixing. Again, the lion already have all these dark spots around it. So it kind of helped me to create all these shadows already. So I don't have to worry so much, oh my God, where should I put the shadow? Right? So I'm just going to do a bit because I think the shadow that we add on the first time is already good enough. Next, if you want to add more of the harsh part of the lion, like a light, create a new layer. Let's call this light. Make sure you press on alternate, and then now time to switch, right? Now it's time to add on the colors, like the bright light. Press on I to look for the source of light. For example, here I'm just moving around this canvas to look for a light. Maybe I can even use the sun here as a guidance. And I want you to choose not normal, but soft light. When you have that, now I want you to increase your brush size. You can see here, right? Can you see that? There's a yellow tint around it. Yeah, that creates the light. Like that. So that's that. And now time to fix the monk. Very quickly, you need to understand the sun is coming from the top left of the image, right? So, of course, we need to make him slightly darker. Let's go up here, look for the monk, create a new layer, press on alternate. Let's rename this to shadow. Now, change to black and white again. Now that we changed to yellow, quickly press on D to get the black and white palette. Press on B again. And here I'm going to do a manual fixing. I can either use the same gradient style that I used earlier, just like this. See, it works as well. So I can maybe put that there and then reduce the opacity and still within, so that it shows that the sun is still on top, right? And another thing, when you work on photo manipulation, always feel that you're there. This feeling in you should be there. Else you cannot create a realistic looking image. You need to be there. For example, like this, when I created, I'm there, I'm the photographer. I'm trying to imagine I took the shot. So if I'm really there, what will I see? And if you think like that, right, you will create more epic looking photo manipulation. Like here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a sun. I'm going to switch my brush to yellow, the color. I'm going to change my normal to color dodge. Color dodge are usually intense. I'm going to, you know how this umbrella usually is, this bamboo looking umbrella, they are usually thin, the red color cloth. You can actually see sun through it. Like
you would think it would be quite sheer, like quite see-through. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you can always apply the color right like that. Right? See, before and after. See? So it shows that there's a light that's coming on top. You can always also adjust the light by zooming in, and you need to highlight the edges. Sometimes it can be intense, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just color the side here. We can always adjust it. So you need to know. So of course it doesn't hit at the bottom. It's just at the side. So I'm going to just draw this slight little edge, yellow edge around the umbrella, and I'll lower down the opacity later. Again, it's just for my guidance to know that the color really filled up the area like that. And what I do is I usually lower down the opacity. It does make a difference because you have to look at here and now, before and after, right? So that adds the effect. And peacock. Now that the sun is hitting here straight to the face of the peacock, let's go to the peacock. Oh, since the tail is in a separate layer, let's just group them into one. Call it a smart object. Let's call this a peacock. Create a new layer. Press on alternate, and let's call this shadow first. I'm gonna add a bit of like a black thin shadow at the back of the peacock. So I'm gonna zoom out, and I'll just do that. Can you see that? Yeah. When you do that, it's within your control again. I'll just press shift, and I can move things around. So for this, I might not add too much of shadow, maybe a bit at the tail end, like this. Again, I can switch to whichever area that I want. Right, like this, and I'm gonna move it down. Okay, that works. And because the sun is too harsh, I again use the shadow layer, and I'll make my brush slightly bigger. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just brush at the back of the neck of this. Again, realistic. You need to think that the sun hits here. Obviously, here shouldn't be too bright. Again, it's always at the back of my head. Like, okay, the sun is there. Where else she's supposed to have the dark spot? So yeah. So when you do that as well, if you create more like a, you can see the peacock is more visible. Let's do before and after. Can you see that? It's more 3D-ish now.
Right.
And also, because the peacock is standing just like that, of course the bottom part here has to be dark. Okay, that's that. And then once you're done with that, it's time to fix. Now let's hide the sun. I don't think so we need it. Now let's hide it. And I'm actually happy with the way that it is now, and I'm going to remove the unwanted layer, and I'm trying to look for other stock images that might work. Hold on.
Okay, cool.
I do have like a plants that I want to add. Let me see if I can find it. So yeah, but basically this is how you do things. You need to make sure that you've even if you're not finding the right image, like I said, always work around it. You don't have to worry so much.
Yeah, cool. Just to let you know, it's totally cool. But just to let you know that we can only see Photoshop. So I think you're only sharing Photoshop the app, so we can't actually see you searching.
Oh yeah.
Just to let you know.
Yeah, I'm actually finding my. Awesome. So I'm not showing where I'm searching. Like it's at a part of my window. But let's just get back to this very quickly. Cool. I think I forgot one thing. Right underneath the sleeve, I think it would be nice to, while I'm searching, another idea hits my mind. It would be nice to have a very subtle sun ray. Right? If you're wondering how how a sun ray looks like when you look at this is that it's very hard to create at times. Well, it is now in Photoshop. Let's call this sun ray. Let's press on L. And then again, polygonal lasso is one of my favorite tool. Let's create a fake looking sun ray like this. What I'm doing right now is I'm not pressing on anything. I'm creating a shape of a sun ray. Like this.
You're just using the magnetic lasso tool or the...
No, I'm using the polygonal lasso.
Polygon, yeah.
Polygonal lasso, and I'm going to create this. And once that's done, and I'll just switch to the color mode. For example, I'm going to press on G, Shift G until I get the bucket. Perfect. And I'm going to switch the color to yellow, slightly orangey here. Perfect. And I'm going to drop the color. Of course, you get this. When you press on Control D to deselect, right? And next thing you're going to do is just go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And I want you to increase the radius. When you have that, can you see, you still can see the different shapes of the sun ray? I want you to just take this, move it up, and reduce the opacity. When you do that, you still have the tint of yellow around this photo. Because without it, like I said, final touches are very important. If you don't have it, can you see, once I add and remove, you feel like the sun ray is supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Right? It's very, very important to add all these final touches so that it creates all this different feel to your photo manipulation.
That's such a simple way to add sunlight. Like it seems so straightforward. Is that something that you'll use a lot, like to add that kind of flare in and add the sun in?
Yeah, I do. Like back then, I like to look for sun ray. I will look for a stock image, which is I feel it was like a waste of time. And when I look at that stock image that I'm looking at, oh my god, this is something that I could create, I feel.
Right.
So I try to figure out what are the ways to do it. Then I know the shape of the sun rays are always like sharp edges and then looks like a blur out thing. You know how there's like a spotlight is? And I was thinking, maybe I should give it a try. And these are the ways that I figure out how to create things for myself rather than like depending on the stock image.
Cool. I like it.
That's that. Let me just save it. Let's call this monk. Perfect. Next, I am going to add more leaves. So I was looking for a stock image. Very quickly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my collection. I know you guys can't see this, but I do have it in my... Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I do have it. Because the reason why I'm doing adding stuff to the left hand side is because I want to create more of this like a depth of field. Like the focus should be in the what do you call the main focus will be the lion and the monk and everything. So when you add other elements, blur it out. I think it would be great to actually create these elements, like for example like this. Like I have this small little tree. Again, I don't have to worry that the tree is too small. So this is one of my collections. So I will just press on W, see what happens, right? Select subject. Okay, that tree is selected. Press on that. And then even though it's green, you don't have to worry. Let's go to the quick selection here. Remove all this blue tint, like a background around it. Just click on, okay, cool. Click on OK. I want you to quickly convert this to smart object. Let's call this tree, and I want you to blur it out, not so much. Okay, just like this, and see what happens, right? So there are times where I like to reuse elements. For example, I know this is only one tree, but when you resize it and move it around, for example, like this, look at the bottom here, right? It's actually empty, right? So when I do that, it adds more of the effect. So
right.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press on Control B very quickly. Control B is color balance, and because it's autumn and everything, again, doesn't make sense for the tree to be too intense like this. So what I'm gonna do is again, I'm trying to color according to what I'm looking at. Maybe I should do this, like this. And then you can always reuse element. I'm gonna resize this bit, switch it to another area because the tree will have different areas, right? Take this and put it at the side here. Even that works. Like this. There you go. This was never there. The reason why I'm doing this is because then it creates the focus in the middle rather than working on like rather than have a flat looking image, right?
So it
Again,
like
I'm using the same
draws your eye in like a lot more, and
Yeah,
also
exactly.
gives you that depth.
Yeah, exactly. So when you do this, then you know the focus is here. And the best thing about streaming is that there are times where people do help me out. They're like, "Oh, Ramesh, now that you're doing this, you say you're the photographer, you're so focused onto the lion. What if even the black background is blurred out?" It's also a good idea. So I can also do that if I want to, right? Again, depends on you. You can blur out a bit. Now that I've blurred out a bit, you can see it's more sharpened here, right? Like the focus is more. So that's the beauty of reusing stock images as well. For example, this one tree, I can reuse this tree in a very different form. Like I don't have to, again, maybe when you purchase an image, you feel like, oh, I'm run out of credits, I couldn't find any more like stock images. Don't worry, there are times where you can always reuse stock images. Like for example, like this, I'm trying to just reuse what I have there, right? Like this. So you don't have to worry so much. And we are on time. I'm actually going to finish it up very soon.
You're very good at your timing.
Yeah, I like to. Oh, here's another tip. Always make sure that you time your the time taken to do an artwork. I think I did mention this in my previous Adobe Live, because when you do that, right, you don't carry it away so much trying to perfect things up. Always remember, you can always create a new artwork. You don't have to worry to spend so much of time creating this. Even if you miss little mistakes, like for example, oh, the shadow is not right, I should have just colored the lion. Maybe I can have like a glow. Even this session, I can even color the bell over here, like to change that into a gold if I want to, which I'm going to show like in 5 minutes, a very quick thing. You can always keep that feature and put it up on your next artwork. That's how you keep upgrading yourself. That's a very good way to make sure that you don't carry it away. Because I do have people telling me they spend like 6 hours, 7 hours. Usually I fix like 4 hours max, 4 to 5 hours. Because I feel if I do more than that, I get exhausted. Again, I need time for myself as well. So that's how you plan things. For example, here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer called Go. And I'm not sure if you've seen any statues in China or Japan. There are times where they'll have like a gold tint here and there. So in this, I'm going to teach you guys how to color something. Like for example, this is actually a green looking statue, right? If you want to have a color, like a gold color, simply look for a color. For example, I'm trying to look for okay, this is probably a gold color here. I'm going to switch to B, which is brush. Change normal to color. When you do that, guess what happened? The color will merge together with the image that you are trying to color. So you don't have to like bring in like some third-party tool whether I can color this like in a different way. By just switching your blending mode to color, you can easily color this. There you go. I'm just coloring this gold. And also, if you look at my workspace, I like to have my tool presets at the side, and my color spectrum here is my best way to focus on my artwork. Just arrange the items here if I want to, selection of the layers. And if I were to switch tools, these are my top favorite tools. I already know I like to use all the different brushes and smudge tool and everything is always there. So I don't have to, you know how Photoshop is? There are a lot of tools that you can dive in and get it. Or you can always use tool preset, drag it up outside the tool preset, and just with one click you can access it rather than have 2 clicks too. Again, I like to save time, so I want to make sure that I work efficiently. This is how I do it. So that's gold, and I think the eyes can be gold. What I'm doing right now is I'm just going to color it gold. You can see how easy it is to do with color, just blending mode of color, and you are actually done.
Amazing.
Yay. There you go.
That's so amazing. Yes, it's so good. I'm always like so impressed by like just how quickly this can be created. There was so much that we covered, like blurring the background to kind of sharpen like where you want the user's eye to go, like blurring things in the foreground so that we can have more depth, and also drag the eye in like a vignette, like which is a super cool, really interesting like techniques around getting those edges, getting rid of those sharp edges. I was thinking of like feathering, but you showed us another way using the properties panel, which was like super interesting, bringing back color. There's been so much that's been covered. It's been fantastic, Ramez. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you so much. It's always good to share, and thank you for asking questions, guys. I think it helps me as well to find out what do I really do to make sure my art looks perfect. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I just have a couple of things just to mention. So yeah, thank you, chat. That was super awesome. Stick around. I'll quickly bring up our schedule. We have 2 live streams today. So in half an hour when we sign off from here, we'll be going live with Sophie Eleanor. So stick around. I hope you guys can stick around for that one. That's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be animating typography in After Effects. Super, super cool. And the other thing I wanted to do a very quick shout out for is you've actually done something else with Adobe very recently that came out today. We mentioned on our stream yesterday, TK North had this spotlight video, and you also have one. I'm just going to quickly bring it up so you guys can see.
Video, I would like to share with you
there he is.
How I've used Photoshop to create one of my favorite pieces of art.
This is so cool. We don't have time to show the whole thing, but Johanna's going to share that in chat. We'll share it down the bottom in YouTube as well. So a short artist highlight. I just thought it was super cool. So I think people here absolutely love learning from you, and they should check that out.
Thank you so much for joining me. And the video is about another manipulation that I've done for Adobe for Honor the Heroes, the frontliners. So you guys should check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, guys. So, yeah, thanks again. Please stick around. We'll be back with Sophie Eleanor in about half an hour. Until then, thank you so much, Ramez. It's been amazing. And we'll see you next week. And we'll continue this series of photo manipulation and learning from you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Bye-bye.
See ya.